everybody. Welcome to Unrated. This is your host, Q. And from now on, we will be mostly posting the podcast on YouTube because we are low on funds. And I had to shut down the website, which is really sad. I know you're all crying with me. I know you're all like, oh my God, that is so sad. Why do you do that? I'm like, well, websites cost money and hosting costs money. And you might be thinking, well, it ain't that expensive. I'm like, well, yeah, I know, but you're not the one paying for it. So what's up? So we're just going to do it the cheap way, and we're going to host it on YouTube. Basically, we'll be uploading a video-looking file to YouTube, and basically you get to play it. You don't get to see my face because that is weird. No one wants to see me. No one wants to see you. We just want to talk to each other. Let's just be cool. So basically that will be the plan from now on. We will just be uploading the podcast on YouTube, and you will get to play it on YouTube. You can play it on your Xbox. You can play it on your console, your computer, your phone, using the YouTube app, or just going to the channel on YouTube on your browser and playing it there. Yes, I know it used to be convenient to use your podcast app, right? Like download it from iTunes, download it from Google Play, etc. Well, we won't be doing that for the time being. I am hoping that in the future we'll be able to go back to the version that we uploaded to as a podcast, as audio only format. But for the time being, we will be doing this whole YouTube deal. All right, everybody. So what's the plan for today? Today we're gonna just have a very brief episode. We're gonna discuss the Star Wars Last Jedi trailer, official new trailer, the one that came out on Monday night. I know it's Wednesday. I know we're a little bit behind, but you know what? This is when we get to record. And I honestly wanted to... I'm not coming at this trailer with, completely, fresh or basically... I've been talking to a few friends. I've been talking to people who watched the trailer also. I've been also listening to a few Star Wars podcasts that I keep up with. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I wanted to kind of like just feel what the vibe was on this trailer before talking about it. It's not that I'm afraid of my own opinions. I want to make sure that I am not missing something. I've watched this trailer probably, less than 10 times, but definitely more than 5 times. And one time I even, broke it down frame by frame, and I was like, okay, what is happening in this scene? What is happening in this scene? And I feel like I mostly understand what's going on in this trailer. My general conclusion is that this trailer is about Kylo and Rey. And you might be thinking, no kidding, duh. I'm like, well, think about it. Well, let's not think about it. Let's go ahead and start breaking down this trailer frame by frame. First of all, we go into the scene. The very first scene that comes up is about Kylo staring into what looks like some kind of arsenal. There's walkers, or AT. They're not AT-ATs. I know they're called the New Order calls them something else. The First Order, but whatever the walkers are called. There's tanks. There's bombing Starcraft. There is spacecraft. Wow, Starcraft. Obviously there's weapons of war, right? I mean, you look to the left. There's a ton of walkers just like hanging there. Like literally, this place that he's looking into is huge, is massive. It's probably one of the largest structures that we've seen in Star Wars. Like there's tons of like weapon systems just scattered all over the place. In the background, we have the words of Supreme Leader Snoke, right? And he's talking about how when I found you, I saw war, I saw destruction, I saw chaos. The very next thing that we have is the walkers, right? The walkers. I think this is the planet Crate. I could be wrong. Don't hate me if I'm wrong. We're seeing the walkers, and we're seeing big and small walkers, by the way. Like you see, there's 2 different models. There's the very obvious massive ones, humongous ones that have turrets in the forward cabin and turrets on top. And then you have the smaller walkers, which maybe are the standard ones. Next to them. I don't know if those are transport ships or what, but they're moving forward. I guess and a first impression could be, oh, they're in attack formation. They're about to attack this ridge or this geographic formation on the right. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to attack it or not. We don't know that. I thought people say, oh, this is just like the Battle of Hoth. This is Empire Strikes Back all over again. I'm like, we don't know. We don't know at which point in the movie this is happening. We don't know what is happening in this scene. We just know there's a bunch of walkers lined up. They could be attacking, or they could just be, I don't know, walking in a direction. We have no idea. The very first scene is very interesting because it really, it really gave me a strong nostalgic. It gave me it reminded me of that scene when Anakin Skywalker is walking into the Jedi Temple, followed by the 501st, which is his legion, his division of the Clone Army, the Grand Army of the Republic. That the 501st would go on to be Anakin's Stormtrooper division in the Imperial Army. This scene, Kylo walking in front of the Stormtroopers, walking into this fortress or this we don't really know what this is. I mean, it's obviously in the rocks, but we don't know what it is. Are they attacking? Are they going to their base? Are they going to the resistance base? I don't know where they're going. We just know that he is leading this formation. And it's a really cool scene because it gave me chills. It was like, oh my god, this is like when Anakin is attacking the Jedi Temple in Revenge of the Sith. And it was a really cool scene, and we see the Stormtroopers just filing in, and immediately we switch to a scene of Kylo Ren, and he's grabbing his lightsaber, and then we switch to Rey, right? So basically we have early on, we have this speech that Snoke is giving, and we don't really know what Snoke is talking about, right? So he's saying, when I met you, I saw war and chaos. Who is he talking to? Is he talking to Rey? Is he talking to Kylo? I don't know. We don't know. And I feel like this is kind of what they're trying to get at with this trailer. They're really trying to make us question ourselves. Is Snoke talking to Kylo? Is Kylo this wild force of nature that is indomitable, and that he wants to set loose upon the galaxy? Maybe, but then, and it makes sense, right? Because he's making this statement. We're seeing the First Order army. We're seeing Kylo leading his stormtroopers into this location. So it almost, for the first 30 seconds of the trailer, it really seems like he's talking about Kylo Ren. But then immediately the trailer shifts from Kylo and the First Order. It shifts to Rey, and she's with Luke in this water planet. And I know that has a name. I think it's called Aquil or something. That would be really funny if that's what it's called. But anyway, she's training, and we're going back to that scene at the end of Force Awakens where she's trying to hand Luke the lightsaber, and immediately we see them go into some kind of training scenario, right? Like, you see Rey swinging her lightsaber, and she's obviously quickly developing these skills, right? Like, she's no longer just wildly swinging like she did against Kylo. She's showing technique. She's showing growth. She's showing determination. There's that scene where she swings a lightsaber at the rock, and she stops with less than an inch away from the rock, and you can see her face, and she's focused, right? She's like, this is my destiny. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm training with the greatest Jedi of all time. I don't know. I think, in my opinion, Revan was the greatest Jedi of all time, but that's called Legends now. So I guess technically Luke is the greatest Jedi of all time, but we really don't know, right? So she's training. If you get the chance to go back to this trailer, I would recommend that you listen to the music. Listen to the music in the scene, the moment when Rey is swinging her lightsaber. The music that comes up is very martial, very militaristic. She is swinging this lightsaber around, and the background music isn't the Jedi theme. It isn't a peaceful Rebel Alliance theme. It's not. It's a very war drums, militaristic, martial. Like we're headed to battle. We're gonna rock this. It's like, here we go. It's a very militaristic soundtrack when she's swinging her lightsaber, and I wonder if they're doing that on purpose to give us the message, hey, Rey is not only training to be a Jedi, but she's training for war. But is that really the message, or the message is Rey has some darkness in her that we have yet to see? Because the most militaristic theme, or whatchamacallit, a song or piece in Star Wars is the Imperial March, right? When we think bum 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 bum. I mean, that's as militaristic as it gets. You don't get more martial, more militaristic than that. And the music in the background, yeah, it is not the Imperial March, but it comes really, really close, and it makes you think of the Imperial March. So I wonder, what are they trying to tell us with this scene and with this music overlay on top of Rey going through her drills? Immediately we shift to Luke standing next to Rey. He's looking at her, and suddenly the ground begins to crack, and Luke is like, I've seen raw power like this before, and it didn't. He said something like, it didn't scare me last time. Like, I wasn't impressed by it. It was whatever. I saw power like this, and I was like, okay, great. It's raw power. But now he's making this comment. I'm assuming he's talking to Rey, right? Because obviously that's what the scene alludes to. He's there with Rey. Rey is showing her skills, her raw talent, her raw potential. And Luke is like, this is scaring me. This is scaring me. This is freaking me out. I don't know if this means that Luke is having second thoughts about training Rey. I don't even know if Luke is actually training her. We don't even know if he agreed to train her. All we know is that Rey is going through drills on this island where Luke is at, and Luke is there watching her. Is he training her? I don't know. Is he just sitting there like an asshole and just watching her train, and because he's like afraid of the past? I don't know. We don't know what he's doing. We just know that he makes a statement. I seen power like this, raw power like this. It didn't scare me before. I wasn't worried about it in the past, but now I am. We're assuming he's talking about Rey right now. But what is that raw power from the past? Is that Kylo? Maybe. I think immediately we're supposed to think, oh, he's talking about Kylo Ren. But I think we're not really sure, right? Because I think that's what's so tricky about this trailer. It's sending us mixed signals, and we're like, what if he's talking about just Darth Vader? And Luke could be talking about Anakin. He could be saying, look, the last time I saw raw power like this, it was in my father, Darth Vader. And maybe at the time I didn't appreciate how powerful Darth Vader really was. And now he's saying, well, it scared me, right? Because not only did I see raw power like this in Vader, but I also saw the dark side in Kylo. And now I see this raw power in you, and I'm like, I don't know if you can contain this power. I don't know if you have what it takes to deal with this power. So you pause in second 55 of this trailer, and you see the look on Luke's face, and he's like, he looks scared. He looks in shock. He looks distraught. He's like, I am afraid of this raw power. We're assuming he's talking to Rey. The question for us is, if he has decided to train Rey, what is this revelation for Luke? What does that do to that commitment to training Rey? Is he gonna back out of that? Is he going to abandon her? Is he going to be like, no, you know what? I know Yoda trained me, but I am not worthy of training anyone because I messed up. And I will not create another monster like I did it with Kylo. We're not, judging his judgment right now, or we're not judging his statement or his methodology or how he's coming to this conclusion that, you know what, like I did this, I did that, but I'm not gonna do this again. We're just trying to figure out, what is Luke? Why is it that Luke is so scared? Is he talking about Snoke? Is he talking about Kylo? Is he talking about the Emperor? Is he talking about Rey? maybe Luke knew Snoke in the past. Maybe they knew each other, and Luke basically says, I saw raw power like this in Snoke, and he turned evil, and he stole Kylo. I will not do this again. We don't know what he's talking about or who he's talking about. We just know that he looks scared, and he looks angry, and he looks really distraught. So right after he says that, we are shown a scene of what we can assume is the Jedi Academy that Luke helped rebuild. His mechanical hand coming out from the burned down ashes, the remains of the Academy. Obviously, we don't really know what this is, but I'm personally assuming this is right after the Knights of Ren and Kylo revolt against the Jedi, and they destroy the Academy, and I'm assuming they kill all, if not most, of the Jedi that Luke was training or had trained. We see this massive structure in the background. It is a massive structure. I mean, that building is not small by any comparison. Like, that is a large building. That is a full-blown temple or academy, and it is on fire. It is being burnt down. It is in ruins, and Luke is there. He kneels down. He's like, oh my God, what is happening? What did I do? What have I done? What has happened? And this happened. We're shown this scene right after his comment about raw power. So I feel like we're supposed to. The trailer wants us to believe that this has to do with Kylo and the Knights of Ren. This has to do with Kylo betraying the Jedi, or maybe even Snoke. Maybe Snoke betraying the Jedi. And at the same time, while he betrays the Jedi, he steals Kylo. He robs Kylo away from Luke. So we see that scene, and we go back to Luke's scared face. He's like, it scares me now. And then immediately we're shown Rey. She looks sad. She looks the sadness of someone who feels like, her expression seems like, hey, I didn't mean to let you down. I didn't mean to scare you. What the hell? Like, her face is not one of anger, it's one of like confusion. It's like, I thought you were supposed to teach me. I thought you were supposed to lead me, to show me what the Force is, and teach me what I'm supposed to do with this gift or this capability. And then Luke is freaking out, and the expression on Rey's face that we're shown. And once again, we're assuming that the message that the trailer is giving us is consistent. Her face is, what? Like, what is going on? And if you're so afraid of Kylo, why wouldn't you help me destroy him? Right? If you're so afraid of Snoke, if you're so angry at Snoke, why wouldn't you help me bring him down? Why are you leaving me? Why are you abandoning me? We immediately turn to Kylo grabbing his helmet and smashing it against the wall. And then we're shown a First Order attack on Mon Calamari ships. Obviously, General Leia is on the ship, and she seems, we're meant to believe she has this connection with Kylo, right? She is not only strong in the Force, Leia as a Skywalker, as a descendant of a Skywalker and the sister of a Skywalker, she probably has some sensitivity to the Force, and Kylo is bombarding and destroying the ship that she's on, and we see her expression sadden, and we see Kylo about to pull this trigger, and his face is like falling apart. Like, you can see the sadness, the mixed with anger, mixed with fear, mixed with hatred in his expression. It's like someone who has to. It's the expression of someone who knows he's gonna do a horrible thing, but in his mind it is justified because it will lead to a greater good or a greater expression of himself, or a greater version of him. It's like you have to rip away the old self to build a new self. So Kylo is talking about purging. He's talking about the words that are being expressed are very similar to the dialogue that he had with Han Solo, where he's like, I need to do this, but I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this. And then he ends up killing his father. And so what I understand from the scene from the trailer is, did part. I've come a long way, but you're still alive, Mom. And I cannot embrace my destiny. I cannot embrace the dark side completely. I cannot become the force, the dark force warrior, the dark side warrior I'm meant to be, as long as you're holding me back. Which is a really sad moment, because it basically means I love you and you love me. And as long as that is the case, I cannot embrace true darkness. For me, as someone who has studied child soldiering in many ways, like the psychology of human trafficking and the way that people are seduced into committing acts of terrorism and committing acts of violent extremism, this psychology is very, very similar, and it's something that we see in our world, in our reality here, in our reality here on Earth. Is this idea that in order to fully take over an individual's psyche, you have to force them to do horrible things that therefore they will never be able to go back. Kylo has killed his dad. He seems to be planning to destroy the ship that his mom is on, that Princess Leia, General Leia is on, and by ripping these weaknesses, by purging these weaknesses from his heart, he can finally embrace all that he's meant to be. He can embrace the dark side completely. He can become the warrior, the force user that he's supposed to become. Why is he doing this? What is his motivation? Obviously, it's the dark side, but what else? What was he promised? What was Kylo promised by Snoke? Or maybe not by Snoke, by someone else. What was he promised that has made his determination so focused on wiping out those that love him? I hope this movie explains that, because I really want to understand that. He needs to rip away that which makes him weak, which, we can disagree with that, but his mind is made up. So this scene shows us Kylo on the edge of making a decision that maybe he'll regret, maybe he won't, but it will. What we do know is that it will allow him to embrace the darkness completely. And if that's what he wants, then, and if he succeeds in that, then we can argue, and I think this is one of the most important points of this trailer, we can argue that if Kylo manages to kill everyone who loves him, then he will be able to do what Darth Vader couldn't do. In Force Awakens, we see this fascination that Kylo has for Darth Vader, his grandfather, right? We see him stare at the melted, broken down helmet of Vader, and he worships Vader, right? He worships his grandfather. He worships how powerful Vader was. I mean, if you go watch Rogue One, when he's cutting down all those rebel soldiers, you're supposed to fear Vader in that scene. You're supposed to realize, oh my God, Vader is a monster. He is a freak of nature. He is a force of nature that can cut down dozens, if not hundreds, of troops without stopping. But what was Vader's weakness? Vader's weakness, from the perspective of the dark side, was that his son was still alive. And his son, Luke, was able to tap into something deep inside of him that allowed him to give up the dark side, kill the Emperor, and die a Jedi. Kylo knows this, or at least we assume that Kylo knows this. And if Kylo is determined to embrace the dark side, then he must cut away that which he loves and that which loves him back. In other words, if Kylo wants to become the dark force user, the dark side user he has been promised he can become, then he must kill the Lukes and the Leias and the Hans in his life. He must kill those who love him so much that they can conquer his dark side. Not until he does that will he be able to fully embrace the power of the dark side? I really hope that this movie embraces that which I've just described and shows us that. Because if it does, if it succeeds in doing that, it may be one of the most powerful Star Wars story arcs we've ever seen. The grandson of Darth Vader recognizing that his grandfather failed at fully embracing the dark side and choosing to cut away to by his own hand, by his own sword, cut down those that love him. Wow, what a powerful story that will be. Sad, but powerful. Which, leads me to believe that the sadder this story is, the more powerful the redemption in episode 9 will be. So moving on, we see Princess Leia connecting in Ren. This December, we see the Millennium Falcon being chased by TIE fighters, Wookiee, the Porgy, the Porgs, whatever those are called. We see Poe Dameron going into battle. I'm assuming this is around the same time that Kylo is attacking Princess Leia's ship. We see Captain Phasma dueling with Finn. I am really looking forward to this scene. I really want to see a duel between Finn and Captain Phasma, because to be honest, I feel like Finn got shafted a little bit in Force Awakens. Finn is this trained stormtrooper. He's a trained soldier. We're not supposed to. I don't buy that Finn is an incompetent soldier. He's a trained soldier. He's a professional soldier who simply, his one mistake, according to the First Order, was not willing to shoot on innocent people. But that doesn't mean that Finn is not a very capable soldier who, you give him a weapon, he'll be able to get the job done. So here he is. He's wearing what I am assuming is Resistance officer uniforms, and he's fighting Captain Phasma. I am so excited for this scene. I hope this scene is like 2 to 3 minutes long. I really hope that this is not like a 10-second scene and that's it. I really want Finn and Captain Phasma to go at it, because when you think about it, if Finn is the archetype of a child soldier, if Finn is the archetype of a child soldier, someone who was bred from his childbirth to fight without question, then Captain Phasma represents that machine of war that bred Finn into a soldier. So in many ways, Finn battling Phasma is like Finn breaking down his chains. He's like, I refuse to be the child soldier, the slave, the soldier slave that you bred me to be. This is me breaking my chains and fighting Phasma. I don't know if he's going to win this battle or not, but it is powerful. And I really hope the movie embraces this scene of Finn rising against the war machine that made him. The war machine that made him a slave to militarism and to being a child soldier, basically. Even if he's an adult, he was bred as a child soldier. So in many ways, he still has that mentality of being bred for war. So we have that crazy scene. We have the close-up on Phasma's face, which is amazing. We see another scene in space. We see Luke freaking out. We see Leia standing. I think this is the planet. This planet is called Crate. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not called Crate. But we see Leia standing inside this base. It looks like the gates are closing down. I might be wrong, but it kind of seemed like the gates are closing. This is one of those moments that really kind of hints to Empire Strikes Back. I really don't hope they go in that route. I really hope they don't go the route of Empire Strikes Back, because I just feel like it's kind of lame. Even if there are some scenes that look similar to it, I really hope they steer away from Empire Strikes Back. Don't get me wrong, Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars film, period. Even including Rogue One, which I loved. I love Rogue One. But still, I hope they steer away so that the movie can exist on its own and not be judged as a remake, or not a remake, but just like as a movie inspired heavily by The Empire Strikes Back. So we see Leia, she's sad. We see Rey going into the water, and Luke makes this kind of asshole statement, this dick statement of, this is not gonna end the way you think, or something like that. I'm trying to remember what exactly he said, but it's like, this is not gonna go the way you imagined, or this is not gonna go the way you think. And it's like, okay, so what does that mean? We're not really sure. Maybe is that going back to his refusal to train Rey? Does that have to do with his methods? Maybe Luke is a really brutal trainer, right? So here's the thing: we shouldn't assume that Luke is a good Jedi Master. Is he a great Jedi Knight? Maybe, but is he a good Master? Is he a good mentor of younger Jedi? We don't know, because we haven't seen Luke train anyone, right? We haven't seen Luke train anyone. Was Qui-Gon Jinn a good Jedi Master? Well, he trained Obi-Wan, right? So maybe, yeah, sure, we can assume, well, at least Obi-Wan turned out okay. So we can assume, yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn was a good Jedi Master. But obviously, like, we haven't seen anyone trained by Luke outside of Kylo Ren. So it's like, maybe Luke is like a total dick, and maybe we're not supposed to like him. Maybe he's this arrogant, angry old Jedi Master who's just pissed off because he just sucked at training young Jedi. We don't know. So we don't know what kind of training he's putting Rey through, and we have no idea how Rey's gonna react to Luke's methods of training. We go back to a scene of Finn, and we see the massive First Order war machine in that hangar, and then we move on to back to the scene with the walkers, and now it looks like they are in attack formation, right? They're advancing. There's some kind of mines on the ground. We see TIE fighters and shuttles flying above, going towards the rebel fortress, and they're fighting back, and then we see Snoke. We go back to Snoke, and we see him doing some kind of Jedi mind meld, not even Jedi, some Force move on Rey, and it's just he's torturing her mind, and she's like in agony. She's lifted up. He's holding her in the air while at the same time, like, just pushing needles into her mind, and her expression is pure agony and suffering. And we're beginning to question the beginning of the trailer, where he says, "When I first saw you, I saw war and chaos and all that stuff." And we're thinking, oh my gosh, is he talking about Kylo, or is he talking about Rey? We don't know, because we just have the trailer. But it makes us question if Rey is this ultimate Force weapon. If Rey is the ultimate Force wielder since Anakin, and Kylo isn't, does that explain Kylo's obsession with embracing the dark side? Maybe Kylo was told, maybe Kylo at some point learned that he wasn't that great of a Force wielder, and that dug deep into him. That gave him a badge on his shoulder that he hasn't been able to get rid of. And maybe the fact that Kylo isn't as great as he wants to be, maybe that is the reason for not only his turn to the dark side, but also his motivation for killing all those who love him. Because he feels, maybe he's been brainwashed to believe that, Kylo, you're a terrible Force user, and the only way you can become great is by doing these horrible things. Meanwhile, on the other side, there's Rey, who has this incredible natural raw talent. We really don't know who is Snoke referring to, but it kind of, near the end of the trailer, it makes you think, what if he's talking about Rey? What if Rey is this powerful Force user that he fears? Because when he thinks of her, she thinks of war and chaos and destruction. What if Kylo is just this pawn who's being manipulated by Snoke into believing he can be great. But maybe, I mean, he seems to be a decent fighter. But what if he's just not that great? And once again, this isn't based on anything outside of what we know from Force Awakens and what we know from the trailer we just watched in the last couple of days. So we see Rey suffering, being held in this Force position, in this Force stasis or pain, whatever, torture method by Snoke, and she's shaking, and then the screen goes black, and Rey says, I need someone to teach me what my role is in all of this, what my place is in all of this. And what we see around her is fire, and there's ashes falling from the sky, and she's looking at Kylo. At least that's what it looks like, right? She says, I need someone to teach me, someone to guide me, what my place is in all this. And Kylo looks at her, and he's not angry. He's not upset. Maybe he is, but he doesn't show it. He's not angry. He's not upset. He just looks at her with almost an expression that shows understanding. If we go back 1 second, Rey's expression is one of someone who's lost. Look at her. Just go back to second time, 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and just press pause and just look at her. Her eyes look watery. She looks sad. She looks alone. She looks lost. Maybe Luke kicked her out. Maybe Luke said, "Screw you! I'm not gonna teach you. You're unstable. You're gonna ruin. You're gonna break. You're gonna destroy the world, the universe." And Rey was, it's like, what? And then she left, and now she's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, the Force, like, this is something that I felt for a long time, and what am I supposed to do now if you don't want to teach me? And suddenly, Kylo, who was this force of evil not that long ago, now seems like the only one who can help her understand what her place is, because she realizes that Kylo is much more like her than anyone else. So we're led to believe from the trailer that she looks at Kylo and he says, I need someone to help me understand what my place is in all of this. And Kylo looks at her with almost compassion, and he stretches out his hand. And that's it. He stretches out his hand, and that's the end of the trailer. And I'll give you this, listener. If you're listening to this and you're like, see, I told you, it is like Empire Strikes Back. I'm like, maybe there's some parallel elements between Empire Strikes Back and The Last Jedi. But I'll tell you this. Luke never took Darth Vader's hand. If you remember that scene after the duel between Vader and Luke in Cloud City, and Luke is hanging from the edge of the railing, and he's screaming, and Vader says, I am your father, and then he says, come son, and we'll rule the galaxy as father and son. We'll overthrow the Emperor. Come, I will teach you the dark side. I will teach you true power as father and son. What does Luke do? Luke says, hell no. And he chooses to fall. He chooses death. Luke chooses death over the dark side. Here, we're seeing Rey asking the dark side for help. She's asking Kylo for guidance. She's asking Kylo for help. She's asking Kylo to be her teacher. And Kylo stretches out his hand, and we have no idea what Rey does. But I'm telling you this, it doesn't look like she's gonna choose death over the dark side. It really looks like she has been betrayed by Luke. She's been left behind by Luke. Luke has run away. He's running away, man. He's afraid. He's afraid of her power. He's afraid of her potential. And instead of being the light that she needs to wisely learn how to use her raw power, did he abandon her? Is that why she's turning to Kylo? Ladies and gentlemen, we are a little bit less than 2 months away from this movie coming out. So there is no doubt in my mind that if you haven't watched this trailer, at some point you will. So yeah, be ready for that. I hope if you haven't watched it yet, I hope you get a chance to. It's beautiful. I really hope you didn't listen to this whole episode without watching the trailer. You must be really lost by now. But yeah, so there was, the trailer was 2 minutes and 29 seconds, and we're about to hit we're around 41 minutes right now. Yeah, I'm really excited for this movie. I do not think it's gonna be anything like Empire Strikes Back. I think okay, so there's gonna be a battle between the First Order and the Resistance. Great, that's obvious. They're at war. Like, I don't know what you were expecting, a peace treaty, a lunch, a grill out between enemies. Okay, so there is a master teaching a pupil. That is every Star Wars ever except Rogue One. In every Star Wars, there's always been a master and apprentice relationship. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Anakin, the Emperor, Palpatine, Anakin, Ben, Luke, Yoda, Luke, Ghost, Kenobi, Luke. There's always been that. In the last one, it was Han Solo, Rey, in a way, right? Kylo Ren and Snoke. So if you're comparing this to Empire Strikes Back, because there's a tutor-pupil relationship, well, that's every Star Wars movie. And if you're comparing it to Empire Strikes Back, is this a battle? Well, that's every Star Wars movie. Yeah, I really don't. I'm not buying into the TESB comparisons. I say let's enjoy the trailer for what it is. It's not about those set pieces of battles. It's about like the trust between a master and an apprentice, and what allows that to be developed. One last thing that I'll say is that we should take a very strong look at the logo for Star Wars The Last Jedi and notice that the letter Star Wars are outlined by a very Sith-like red. Obviously, Kylo Ren is not a Sith. Obviously, Snoke is not a Sith. They're dark side users, but they're not Sith. Like they don't identify themselves as Sith Lords the way Darth Vader and the Emperor did. But the red has always been associated in Star Wars with the dark side, right? The red lightsabers. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to see a very emotionally intense and dark Star Wars film in December. And I am really excited for it. So on that note, we will wrap up the show right there. Feel free to reach out to me at Unrated Podcast on Twitter. Just feel free to hit me up, ask any questions. If you have any ideas for future shows, that'd be great. Thank you for listening. I know this is weird listening on YouTube, but we really appreciate your support, and we really appreciate you tuning in. This has been Q from Unrated Podcast, and remember to, watch the Star Wars trailer. Peace. 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 Peace.